Hey everyone, so this video is about dipping, why it's a bad idea, and of course how to fix it. And I'm going to give warning in advance. Some of the fixes I have are like, bam, piece of cake, problem solved. Dipping can be one of the toughest things to get rid of. Now, I've been doing so many private lessons over the years, I have a solve for this. But for a lot of you, this is not going to be easy. So first though, what is dipping? When you throw, you should remain, for all intents and purposes, level to the ground. If I'm throwing that direction, everything in my momentum should be going that way. It should not be going up and down. What dipping is when the person throws and they're doing this motion. Now, a lot of times it doesn't take place throughout the throw like a roller coaster. A lot of times it's perfectly level, and then on the final throw, there's a dip in there. So the first solve for this is really simple. Don't do it. Maybe you're not aware of it. Maybe no one's told you it's a bad idea. So simply don't do it. Stay level throughout the throw. So for half of you, problem's already solved. For the other half, like I said, there's gonna be some fixes, but they're not easy. The first is, it's mental. You wanna stay level to the ground. Now in my experience, after teaching this to so many different people and successfully and not successfully, the most effective mental approach is to think about keeping your head level to the ground. All right, if you had a little sensor in here and you had a sheet behind you and that sensor was gonna trace the path along, think about keeping your head level. Don't worry about your knees bending, don't worry about squatting, bending at the waist. Mentally, think about your head parallel to the ground, okay? That's the first part, that's the mental part. The second part is take smaller strides, all right? If your stride is too big, you're automatically gonna dip, you can't help it. So if you step here and you do this, you're going to dip. You are not taking big lunges, so that's another word for it. Don't lunge when you run up. You are not gaining power by doing that. Now this happens most often on the final step, usually because there's a feeling of, if I take a longer stride, I'm gonna throw farther. So a player will have a nice casual run up, nice distant strides, and then on the final step, they're really gonna throw far. That's when they dip. So simply taking smaller strides will get rid of that. Now, those aren't simple, but those are achievable. If that doesn't solve the problem, and by the way, in my experience, you're gonna have to either videotape yourself or have a friend tell you if you're doing it. When I work with players and I say you're dipping, the most common response is, did I do it that time too? Really? If you're used to doing it, you're not feeling this motion. You need a third party or a video to tell you. But if you are still not solving it at this point, here's what you're gonna have to do. The first is, you gotta learn to walk sideways without dipping. Now you take a disc out of a hand, it is very easy to, since you're not throwing, to do this right here, right? You can do this all day long. It's only when you're trying to throw the disc that you actually start dipping. So the first thing you want to do, and go ahead and do it when people aren't around staring at you wondering what the heck you're doing, but get in that habit of remaining level, okay? Practice it. It's not fun, but if you're watching this video, you're trying to get better, it's not about having fun, it's about getting better. Work on that. You can work on that in your living room. That's one of those nice things you can actually do indoors, just while you're watching TV. Okay, there we go, I'm level. Now, that's probably not gonna solve it in of itself. So the next thing you have to do is you have to reintroduce the throw. Now, this is the part that's a drag. In my experience, if you're dipping at this point, you cannot solve it and throw full speed. What you have to do, as silly as it seems, is once you've practiced that side step without the dip, you need to not dip and throw the disc 30 feet, 40 feet. Really helps have a friend watching you. Really hard to videotape yourself doing it and stop every single time. I mean, if that's your only thing, your only option, that's fine. but you have to do at the minimum that. But having a friend say, okay, you didn't dip, perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna throw 50 feet. Your friend says, oh, you dipped, shoot. Go back to 30 feet again. Okay, did I dip? No, good. Do 30 feet, do 30 feet, do 30 feet. 40 feet, didn't dip again. 50 feet, I dipped. Darned. Go back to 40 feet, 40 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. I dipped again, back to 40 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, I didn't dip. You have to incrementally work your way forward on this. Now, this is possibly the hardest part. But while you're working on this and you're solving the problem, if you're solving this over an afternoon or even a couple days, if you all of a sudden say, cool, I was working on this dipping thing, then you go out to league night, try to throw full speed, you're gonna step up and you're going to dip again, I guarantee it. And when you do that, you've erased all the work you've just done. Solving dipping means taking a break from disc golf for 5 minutes or 5 days. You have to work your way back into doing this. It's the only solve I found. I promise you, I've worked with more players one-on-one doing private lessons than anybody. I've not found a quick fix for anyone that doesn't go, oh, I shouldn't dip, and just does it. For those half of you, awesome. For the other half, like I said, it's gonna be a drag. You have my word. This is one of the big ones. If you throw like this, huge barrier, huge ceiling, you'll never excel. So stick with it. I offer private lessons. I offer them by video for people all over the country. Message me at disc golf lesson, and that's lesson singular, not lessons, disc golf lesson at gmail.com, and let's talk about how we can do one-on-one lessons by live stream video.